Hello. Okay, so today's transmission seems to be centering around rainbow rounds, also known as rainbow round tables, or the Kunda-Ray, Kunda-Ray, and the source of some of the material I'll be referencing is from the Ascension Glossary from Lisa Renee, and I will link the link below, so if anyone wants to look more closely, then you'll have that. But I will sort of just allow the flow of what wants to come through around this, and I'll most likely be sharing some experiences and stories that kind of led me to researching rainbow rounds and Alpha Centauri is also coming through, which is, from my research, the closest star system. There are some people out there who have, recounted their personal connection and, identified as experiencers in conjunction with Alpha Centauri beings. And so over the years, I've felt different experiences connected through Alpha Centauri. I'm not quite sure why they wanted to come through during the topic of rainbow rounds or the rainbow round table, the Kunda-Ray. And I just feel guided to read this excerpt from the Rainbow Rounds Ascension Glossary. Esoterically, the term running the rainbow rounds or the rainbow round table refers to the running of the diamond sun rainbow current or Kunda-Ray into the planetary stargates and Earth grid to restore balance and harmony throughout the planetary systems. And funny enough, I have been creating this schematics diagram for a while. I've never really done one before, so I'm really taking my time with it. And the center of the diagram, I put in parentheses double and then diamond sun DNA. And throughout the chart, I was going to connect different things. And so if I finish it, I may link it with this. We'll see. If not, it will be coming in the future if I ever finish it. But yeah, essentially different things that have been coming through, like usual, tend to sort of seamlessly weave together better than I really could have planned. And I think that is part of the excitement for me when I do these transmissions and some of this research. Excuse me. And so, why I was so excited about the rainbow round tables or the rainbow rounds, Kunda-Ray, when I found this specific information. So, a couple different things. A few weeks back, I took some photos, and I may try to attach them to this video so that you'll be able to see a couple of them if you'd like. I was walking in a neighborhood that I was watching a dog in, and I wasn't too familiar with the neighborhood, but I'd stayed there once or twice before, so semi-familiar. And it was raining most of the day, and I was pretty tired, but something told me just to get up and take a walk. And I was like, and it was funny because like a day or two before that, I was listening to someone else's reading, and her reading was like, yeah, you're gonna see something soon in the sky that's not like super common. I just remembered that. And so as I was walking, I was seeing like many like signs and just synchronistic things repeating. And I did write a few of them down. And so, yeah, when I got to a, like, I don't know, a certain point in my walk, I looked up and I saw this, like, iridescent cloud is the best way I could describe it. Like a rainbow iridescent cloud, but it wasn't like a traditional rainbow. And if you're familiar with different types of clouds, you may already know this. I had to look it up. I didn't know the proper name for this like rainbow iridescent cloud that sort of, you know, at different angles, like because, you know, clouds continuously shift. It was like shifting its shape, but at one point it did look similar to the photo that I saw that Ascension Glossary put. Rainbowing by Sequoia is the name of the image that is attached to the Rainbow Table's description. And like I said, if you want to see that, you can click on the link. And so, yeah. At one point, I was scrying into this iridescent cloud, and it almost like sort of shifted into like a serpent or a dragon. And if you're familiar with Aboriginal mythos, rainbow serpent was like one of the, I guess, energies or beings that came through for me years ago when I was on a one-on-one mentorship with my mentor. And yeah, so that energy could be really prevalent right now. And as well as I kept hearing a song repeating in my head when I was looking at these clouds. It was Muse, M-U-S-E, the band Muse. I have it written down what the song was, and I will find that in a second. Starlight by Muse. So if anyone wants to look up the lyrics and share some, feel free. But yeah, that song, I didn't know the name. I couldn't remember the name of the song. I just kept hearing the lyrics, and then I looked it up afterwards, and I thought it was funny that the title was Starlight. So there was another phrase that came through, ship plasma technology, and I believe that is also in the description somewhere in Ascension Glossary. But some of my experiences that I've had over the years, once I've been, you know, kind of doing some research, has been becoming more clear about the layers peeling back about some of the experiences. And so, yeah, I figured I would share just in case anyone else is also experiencing some of these things, or maybe will be in the future, or you know people, however you relate to it, if at all, or maybe you just find it interesting. Yeah, I remember that day I was also seeing the number 888, and I found coins, maybe corn is relevant, coins on the ground, which often can symbolically represent like angelic communication. So now the round table reference I found very synchronistic for myself, because I would say like over the last year, the phrase like taking your seat or taking my seat at the table has been like a repetitive message that I've been receiving from whatever you want to call the subtle realms. And diving into Keylontic science and Asha Nadine's work, she refers a lot to the Guardian Alliance, and that seems to be, from some of my experiences, what one of the, I guess you can say, forms of communication I've been receiving. And so it's been a while for me to be able to talk about this, because, you know, I really wanted to like sit with it and integrate it, and yeah. And so anyway, that phrase, I remember maybe in like 2020, I was doing a lot of like, you know, intuitive channel practicing, where I would go into meditation, dream states, altered states, and eventually I would just sit and channel. You know, it just started coming through without me even really needing to go into any of those spaces. And I would write things down and, you know, then research it and etc. And one of the things that I was so drawn to was the phrase round table. And then I learned, you know, a little bit about like Avalon and King Arthur and the round table. And I remember sitting down and being like, why does that phrase just feel so important to me? I still am unraveling that. And of course, like most things that come up, there's like layers and multidimensional connections through some of these like memories, phrases, etc. that comes with some of these transmissions. And so, yeah, I was like, let's say, I remember around, I'm just pulling the number, 2020, 2021, and I remember writing down the phrase round table and all the ways that I felt connected to it and how I want to like bring forth. It was like coming along also with the phrase mastermind, or like, you know, think tank. Like it was coming through as, yes, now I understand it's like the rainbow rounds and the esoteric connection, and then of course the Avalonian connection. A lot of Avalon has been coming up lately, so you may notice some connections to Avalon coming through as well. And then, you know, breaking it down into this like more 3D current space-time experience, like having a round table of you know, like people that you connect with, that you can like share ideas with, and create new structures. So yeah, this is like sort of the layering that feels like is unfolding through this phrase. And I kept getting messages, you know, as someone to kind of share these transmissions on behalf of, you know, this multidimensional experience and beings and subtle realms, etc. And so, like I said, it's been quite a few years of really sitting with that and letting it unfold. And so I remember maybe like a year or so ago, year and a half, I went to Costa Rica, and some people that I met there, I'm doing like a little reading for someone with their own oracle deck, and I remember she was like, oh, let's pull a card for you. And I was like, okay. So we pulled one for me, and it was like, take your seat at the table. And I don't remember exactly, but I feel like there might have been a round table. And I'm sharing this because I think part of these transmissions is, you know, personal experience and how our own like unraveling and connections to some of these more esoteric topics can help us to like ground it more, and then connect dots for ourselves to like start grounding some of this information. And at the time, pulling that card was so synchronistic because I have been really trying to, just sort of like work on my own, I guess, confidence and trust my own channel over, you know, these years of, you know, peeling back the layers, if you will. And I think at the time I had been getting that message of essentially taking my seat at the table. And I had a dream. It was either right before that or right after that, where I had just, when I first started YouTube, there was a video that I started to share, about scrying and keylong codes. So you may have like just come from there, or there might be a message in there for you as well. And I remember I was cat sitting for my friends while they were away. And I loved those cats. They were actually with me first, and then I knew they weren't going to be with me forever, and I wound up giving them to my friend and her now fiance. Anyway, so I was watching the cats while they were away, and I was doing a lot. I love their place. It's like they just keep their place. Like, I just always have the best time there. And my other friend calls it the Zen house, because it's an apartment. Anyway, so I'm there. My throat continues to like clog a little bit. So if you hear that, just know like there's so much. This came through the transmission yesterday on the Overflow Patreon. Partnerships and nervous system activation. A lot of like throat clearing of, just authentic expression, and it's like generations of layers folding back, and my throat has just been like really I've been going into certain like public spaces and just like having coughing fits because I can like feel all the like pent up layers of shoved down expression like starting to come to the surface, which is a great thing. So yeah, if you hear that, that's probably what's going on. Okay, now, as I was talking about, I was at my friend's place, and I was really just doing a lot of meditation, and I was having very visceral dreams / like out-of-body experiences, which is not uncommon for me, but sometimes it will be like, I know I really, really need to pay attention because it happens so much. Like sometimes it's more, in my face than others. And so at the time when I was having, it presented at first, one of the, if you want to call it, round tables was an Andromedan council. And as I've sat with it more, that still holds true, but there's, again, layers that come through this council and, different aspects of the subtle realm communication. So, I just wanted to make that clear. And I was like it like kept showing up to start sharing. And I was just really having a hard time with it, to be honest. And so I was like, okay, like meet me in some sort of like astral communication so that I can like really, have a more something, like just something for me that will make me feel more comfortable. Anyway, sure enough, I tried like a few times and I would get a little bit here and there, but nothing too like visceral enough. And I was like, and I kept being shown to like schedule something, almost like I think it was more for my own like 3D mind to like comprehend something. So anyway, finally I have the experience and I wake up and the first thing I remember, I think I was telling someone about the experience, or maybe I was recording it. And then I was like tuning in to channel through some messages from the experience as I recalled it. And I heard, would you think there'd be tables and chairs? And I was just dying laughing because in the experience, it was like, completely, it was more so a light transmission. I remember my version of Jess, like who I am, as my avatar body was there. but like not in this form. It was like essentially like holographic, and it was like ultraviolet light, and it was like flashing through like multiple light fields is the best way I can describe it. Mostly ultraviolet, although there were other light streams kind of present, but it was presenting in ultraviolet light. And I share this because it helps me to sort of like lay a foundation for when I bring through some of these transmissions. And like I said, just to share experiences, because I know that there's others having this, and I know how hard it can be to put it into words or to talk about it. Not for everyone, but for those who maybe feel that. And for those who don't have a hard time, for those of us who do, it's good, I think, to be able to sort of come back and forth with each other and share. Like maybe someone else doesn't have a hard time with that aspect, but maybe there's something they're having a hard time with that, for example, I might be more comfortable with, and we can like trade and, share tips and stuff. Anyway, so as I was telling that experience with a friend who also has her own metaphysical experiences, and I said out loud, like, oh, they're laughing like about the table and chair comment, because I guess I was expecting like, to like sit at a round table and like get some like very concrete information. And no, it's almost like never like that. Never say never, but you know what I mean. And so, of course, with that experience, there's been lots of unfoldings being presented since then. And so I was trying to find the name of what this iridescent cloud could signify, because when I was looking at it, and then I found the connection to the rainbow rounds, and again another layer of the round table, and really it's like this reflection of, again, like when we internally experience these things, it's really fun, at least for me, to see how these things start to show up in our external reality in ways that I could never have imagined, So iridescent clouds, I Googled this, also known as fire rainbows or rainbow clouds, occur when sunlight diffracts off water droplets in the atmosphere. The recipe for these heavenly sights is actually pretty simple. Like common cloud to go, tongue twisted, like common cloud to ground rainbows. Iridescent clouds usually accompany thunderstorms. So it's funny because in the transmission yesterday, I just realized this. Excuse me, ice was coming up so much, and the rune Isa, in the Norse runic alphabet. And what happens when we simply like allow the ice to defrost in its own time, and like, all of the memory and, if you will, like secrets that come through the metaphorical ice and or on the planet, like like I brought up Antarctica and how the idea of the ice melting, at least I think, and plenty of other people out there think, maybe you do too, of like what we will find. I mean, they're already starting to find stuff, and I am personally someone who doesn't really believe we should just go and excavate everything at once, because I think there's like a natural organic process to some of this. Just like trying to force our own inner knowing too soon can, sort of cloud things. And I just realized cloud. And I find it interesting that fire rainbows came up because I made a short recently about fire letters, and the fire letter connection to the sequencing of DNA and awakening that sequencing within us. And the fire element connected to rainbow serpent, and like the serpent energy of or dragon energy, and the fire element. So yeah, there's just so many like interconnectedness when you dive into some of the stuff. And for quite a while, I was working with the heliotallic spectrum, which I mention often, also known as like pastel rainbow or iridescent. And, you know, I was working with that internally for a while, and then to see it just like show up in the cloud. And I've seen this before. It wasn't the first time. And you may be seeing this too, but I also had this conversation with a friend a while back where she was looking at a rainbow in the sky, and she sent me a picture, and she said, "What do you notice about this rainbow?" She didn't say anything else. And I said, "Oh, it's like," I was like, "Oh, it's like an iridescent, like pastel rainbow. It's not just like the primary colors." And she was like, "Exactly." She was like, "I've showed other people that, and like no one else picked up on that." So I bring this up because there is this like, you know, internal, I was talking about this a lot yesterday as well I say yesterday because I recorded yesterday. I'm not sure when I'll be posting this, but in the transmission about the partnerships in nervous systems, I think I called it like DNA cellular alchemy. I was talking a lot about perception and our own internal connection, like, you know, through our own holographic blueprint, how we perceive things. And as we continue to expand in consciousness, our perception shifts. And then, you know, eventually when enough of us do it individually, we have like a collective shift. So I was mentioning this with like the Schumann resonance, and now with the clouds, how, and I think I used the example, like, I remember I was on a beach with my sister a couple years back, and I think it was like one of the times in the beginning where I was starting to see more color come through the sun and clouds and light language. And I was looking, we were in California, and I was looking at the sky, I was looking at the sun, and I was seeing, you know, like purple and red and basically like all the colors of the rainbow. And I looked at her and I was like, "When you look at the sky, like what colors do you see right now?" And she looked at me like I was like completely insane, which totally fair. And she was like, "What do you mean? Like, I see the yellow sun and like the white clouds. Like, what are you talking about?" Like, she probably thought I like did drugs or something. I really didn't. I didn't tell her anything. I just said, "Oh, okay, I was just curious." Like, I was like, "So you don't see like anything else?" And she was like, "No." And that I would kind of do things like that often with people around me, just to see like that. Yeah, and like I said, this was like years ago, so I don't really do it as much now because I feel more integrated within myself. But when it, you know, was happening, I was like really curious and just trying to understand more. So there was something else that stood out about the fire letters, the rainbow clouds. Oh, so when I saw this iridescent cloud, and then I looked up the rainbow rounds, and I started to sit with that. The last few days I had been feeling like messages coming through from Alpha Centauri, and I was just like, I don't know, like, well, just like, I didn't say anything out loud. I was just like sitting with the energy. And sure enough, something popped up on Instagram where this woman who does like these like light codes, I've never seen her talk about Alpha Centauri before, ever. And she posted like that day codes from Alpha Centauri. And then there was like a couple other synchronicities that confirmed what I was experiencing. So I was talking about like how when those of us have enough of a internal shift, it becomes like more of a collective shift. And I think that's why Alpha Centauri is coming through, because like I said, I'm pretty sure they're our closest star system, and at least that we know of, in terms of like space travel, and probably like similarity to like, you know, our planetary conditions. There was a guy on Gaia TV who used to talk about, what did he call? There was a name of the race that came from Alpha Centauri to contact him. The Alpunians, that was the name. I knew it would come to me. So maybe, you know, you may have seen him. I wish I remember his name. I don't. He spoke Spanish. I don't know if he speaks English now. Maybe he's learned, but he went through this like whole rigorous process to connect with them, and he says that he had like had a physical meeting, not just an astral meeting with them. So that's a whole other story for another day. And please feel free, to do your own research if you haven't already into that subject, if that interests you. But why I feel like they were coming through is because there were like, I don't even think I've talked about this. There were multiple astral experiences that I kept having in connection to the Mandela effect. And well, it wasn't necessarily related to the Mandela effect, but once I sat with the memories that were coming through and the experiences, I was linking back to the Mandela effect and the Hadron Collider in, I think it's Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken, and all the things that are going on there. And I was, over months after I would have these experiences in the astral or in dream time, I would be shown things to research, to like connect what I was seeing. I'll probably go into more detail on Patreon in the overflow if that's something that interests you, with some of the specifics that came through. But one of the connections to Alpha Centauri that really stood out, I was on a ship, and I remember I was wearing some sort of like space gear, spacesuit, and everything was very white. Like, I remember the suit was white. There were probably like other details that I honestly don't remember. The ship was very white. Like very, I want to say, like serene and sterile at the same time, somehow. Like, everything was very clean, but like I said, a little sterile, but also it had like a serene feeling. It didn't feel cold. Sometimes I associate the word sterile with cold, but it wasn't. It was more just like extremely clean. Like, you could lick the ship with your tongue and it would be completely fine. So yeah, so I remember seeing the other beings around me, and they were humanoid. And I remember there was this ride when I was a kid. Oh my God, what was that called? I'm sure a lot of you will remember. The Gravitron, where you could like stand up against the wall and then, like go upside down or do whatever. And like the floor would drop out. It felt like similar. Like we were all kind of standing against a white surface. And it was very like, I remember we were laughing, like it was joy. There was like joy. It wasn't just like so serious, although there were serious elements to it. And I'll have to go back through my dream recordings and see what else I said about that, because I'm not seeing anything else right now. So I'm just going to trust that whatever is meant to come through will come through. And then around that same time, I was also being shown messages about, like I said, the Schumann resonance and the connection. I didn't mean to say the Schumann resonance, but yes, that too. The Schumann resonance shift, the resurfacing of memories about timeline splits and like the Mandela effect, and again the connection to the Hadron Collider and how that is impeding with the timelines and like essentially ripping space-time open inorganically. Now, with all of that, I wanted to connect it through I guess like this Alpha Centauri, like I know there are other beings, if you will, involved, but that they seem to be the ones that wanted to like come forth the most today. But I already mentioned like Andromeda Galaxy, etc., and the Aquafarian. I mentioned a lot the Aquiline Sun codes, which is sort of like the plasma and the, if you will, like the pastel or iridescent codes coming from within Andromeda Galaxy, like through the Aurora codes and the Aurora encryption. Yeah, so it's cool to kind of see how this all connects. And if you're listening to this and you're like, well, what is she talking about? Like I said, I have been parsing this out for a long time, and sometimes it's best to just, you know, if you're more new to this or if you're just piecing some of this together, I would listen to other people like Phil Gruber, Indigo Angel, a few others, and I would just sort of listen to it. That's why I call it a transmission, because it's meant to like spark something within you, and then over time it's like these codes or these soul keys or auric key codes will sort of, I call it hatching, will hatch, right? And, you know, it will become more integrated in the way that you need it to. So yeah. Now, some of the other experiences I had with these timeline experiences, like I said, I'll share deeper in Patreon, and some of the, like, I'll say external synchronicities or parallel waking life experiences that were mirroring my my channels and astral experiences, etc. In fact, I'm going to make a little note of that. And I just want to read the first paragraph of the Rainbow Rounds just to bring through some of the like higher ascension mechanic terms. And then over time in these transmissions, what I like to do is, like I said, relate it to personal experiences and just sort of break it down as we go. Okay. Now, some of these terms that are used, I don't always completely identify with them, but it at least helps to like hone in on where some of this is like coming from. Like the first sentence, the starseed and indigo races family have come to this planet to work specifically with healing the planetary and human miasma. Now, just in that first sentence, the word starseed has had many shifts since I've first heard that word. And the indigo races, really, it's like anyone who's really drawn to this information and these terms. I remember I've heard a few different people describe these specific type of words as light encoded, which I really loved because it takes some of the like superiority that can come along with it. It's more just like, it's a, you know, we all come to Earth for different reasons, and I think, and so if you're drawn to this information, words like starseed and indigo and, you know, crystal child, rainbow child, blue ray, whatever, you know, there's so many different experiences and so many different words, you know, they're like these light encoded words to help draw us in to dig deeper of what's going on. I just wanted to sort of add that, my personal connection to it. And the word miasma, if you're not familiar, it's like when they say karmic miasma, it's essentially like buildups or like stagnated or like, I guess you could say blocked, although I don't love that word, but yeah, like buildup is sort of what's coming through the most for me. Like if someone has, you know, the cartilage in their knee is either wearing thin or building up and it's stagnated and you have trouble moving your knee, that would be like miasma. So you can take that and apply it to the layers in the body connected to trauma or the emotional body, the pain body, etc. Okay, back to reading. Where did I leave off? With healing the planetary and human miasma by rehabilitating DNA tones, working in the timelines. Oh, I didn't even realize it said timelines. Working in the timelines, healing or ejecting dead light miasma and their causal implants. This function makes up for a large part of the clearing and transmuting work within the collective light family. Our groups have been able to transmute enough miasma in partnership. And I just realized the YouTube portion that I posted yesterday with that word partnership in the title, I knew that there was like layers to this, and I just love that that came through. In partnership with the celestial management structure, the guardians, and I also mentioned them in the beginning, by running 12D hubs and 3-fold founder flame rainbow rounds in the earth grade. Oh, I meant to say grade. People, I know low-grade fever has been coming up a lot lately, so if you're someone who has been experiencing low-grade fevers because of either a viral or a bacterial infection. I actually had a client this week come to me with that experience, and essentially within the last 6 months or a year, I was explaining this to my client, like when I don't have a lot of personal sessions, or even if I do, I still do sessions, even if I don't have anyone booked, whether it's with, the earth grids or the collectives that I feel connected to. I'll, bring through these light codes and do transmissions, like I said, even with this YouTube channel, I don't know if anyone's, really participating. I just feel the call to do it, so I do. And then I've been noticing that people will show up eventually with the things that were coming through. So I kept being shown viral infection clearing, and I was kind of like, yeah, sure, okay. And then I started to meet people that had these low-grade fevers and essentially like immune system attacks, that like chronic immune system issues. Anyway, so that also has been coming up. So if you're someone who's dealing with that, please feel free to share or reach out and we can talk more. Okay. And if there's like more people that are experiencing that and want some more information, my friend / client she's working on some things and she has a lot of great information I'm sure she's going to be sharing, and doing your own research. And like I said, you can like request that I go deeper with that in a transmission, and I'll do my best to honor that. Okay, back to reading. Our groups have been able to transmute enough miasma in partnership with the celestial management structure, the Guardians, by running 12-dimensional hubs and 3-fold founder flame rainbow rounds in the earth grid to stabilize the earth core, to prepare to release this quarantine on schedule with the Venus transit. So this was in 2012. So it's funny to see some of the external, I guess, like manifestations that come through, all the different, it's kind of like a relay race when, it's like waves of, like kind of like Dolores Cannon's work, waves of volunteers or waves of beings that are called to specific different, if you want to call them missions or whatever, and how it really is all interconnected, so just wanted to point that out. And then it says, these dead strings create pools of static dead energy. Dead energy spaces collect into the phantom matrix like a waste product. This cycles into generating more black layers of planetary body miasma. And then it goes on to say, rainbow round tables, or the Kunda-Ray, within the energy matrix, God's source expresses first as sound in the form of the Kunda-Ray. And sound has been coming through a lot lately. And the connection to Bijas, Bijas, or seed words. And I was listening to something from Becca. She calls herself Becca Soul-Based Life. And she was talking about, if I'm saying it incorrectly, I apologize. But again, Bijas, like forms of mantras that translates to the word seed. So seed words, and how it connects to like the oldest living language, or known language I should say, through light language. And I believe it was the Anunnaki, connected through Andromeda Galaxy, and these seed words that come through, as again, like according to that research, the oldest spoken word. And that saying, like, first there was sound. I forget where that's from, so if anyone remembers. Sometimes when I'm channeling, I forget specific things. First there was sound. It's like a very famous, like, yeah. I'm sure someone can help me out here, please. And so the fact that that came through, and I had such a beautiful experience with, I shouldn't say one, I've had multiple beautiful experiences with sound, multidimensionally, in this is like a very specific thing, but if anyone here is practicing or spontaneously having like out-of-body experiences or astral projection, lucid dreaming, and you're hearing sounds like that aren't really around you in your vicinity, but you're hearing them in that like hypnagogic state, the in-between, like waking and sleeping, it's okay. And if, this is just for someone who maybe is newer to this. That's part of the experiences. And I've heard different interpretations of the sounds and what plane they connect to in terms of like astral plane. So yeah, especially in the beginning, you don't have to worry too much about that. Just continuing to, protect yourself, trust yourself, and record your experiences. Because as I've let myself experience these things and try not to, over label things, I think it free. I mean, it's good to have some identification, of course, and that's up to you to discern. But it can open up, deeper experiences as we like let things sort of marinate and integrate, and doing the research as we feel called. And yeah, so let's see what's next. From within the Kunda-Ray, the living light rays of the universal trinity are formed. What we refer to as the threefold founder flame of the solar rishi or Brenau. And I hear that a lot when I tune in. The solar rishi, the Brenau, the threefold founder flame. In fact, when I scry in candles, I always was seeing the same light energy streams coming through for like years. And then when I found the Ascension Glossary and the threefold founder flame, I was also always getting like the triad or triangle, the three founder, and I put it all together that the same exact colors that were connected through the threefold founder flame were the colors that I would always see. So yeah, it's like things like this that help us to piece some of these things together. The solar rishi have returned into dimensionalization to directly support the guardian races with running assorted Kunda-Ray currents into the planetary grid system during the planetary emancipation cycle. And I already actually read the next paragraph, like in the beginning of this. Let me see if it's... It was the paragraph, esoterically, the term running the rainbow rounds or the rainbow round table refers to the running of the diamond sun rainbow current or Kunda-Ray into the planetary stargates and earth grid to restore balance and harmony throughout the planetary systems. To protect the earth, the Christos Knights Templar would go to planetary stargates and power centers with planetary geometric structures and etheric light temples and communicate with the Christic forces and then be shown where to run the, quote, round table. This refers to 3 to 12 Templars gathering at the Stargate location or geomantic center power grid in order to run Kunda-Ray rainbow current and protect the area from intrusion at multidimensional levels. Transmission of the Kunda-Ray current into the planetary grid supports the harmonization of the planet to restore the Christos frequencies and align to the organic timelines of planetary ascension. Now, that really stood out to me, aligned to organic timelines, because now I'm even putting together the connection of, Alpha Centauri and these experiences I was having with the inorganic timelines. And again, I'll go deeper, deeper into that. Yeah, it's like what I want to talk about that, like my throat closes up. So, we talk about like interference from other realms, of course, that don't want to get this information out. I mean, when that happens, I just sort of like acknowledge it and just send love and say, okay, but I'm still gonna, in the past, I definitely would have been like, oh, this is probably a sign I shouldn't talk about it, but I don't feel that way anymore. So wherever you're at is perfect. But yeah, I will talk more about this. And with Patreon, they just added a new feature where you can buy or purchase the individual posts if you don't want to be a member. So if there's ever like a specific post that you see that really stands out to you, but you don't need to be like a member all the time, now you can purchase them individually. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. Okay, what else? Right, so like I said before, I wanted to do this Rainbow Rounds recording or video now for like weeks, and I just felt like it wasn't time. And today I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna show up and just go for it. And I'm really glad it unfolded this way, because I kept tuning into Alpha Centauri when I was feeling them, like what is coming through. And I just kind of kept hearing like, just push record and like, we'll show you. So now I understand more. Again, really tuning into the organic ascension grids and the timelines, and starting to really identify these like inorganic structures. And I posted a video a few weeks back, the Kunda-Ray grid, and I was literally being shown it looked like a double terminated quartz, which is actually the same shape as the 12 spherical Kunda-Ray grid or Tree of Life grid. And that is the organic grid, the template within our vessel, within the earth, within our, probably like, they're showing me even, throughout the morphogenetic field. And so, like, multidimensionally speaking. And then when I tuned into the inorganic grid structures, it was just like a black blobby, I want to say mess, although I'm sure it's not a mess. I'm sure the systems are still very like structured as well, but like I think it was like more metaphorical to show like like what it literally says here. I didn't even put this together. The dead strings create pools of static dead energy. Dead energy spaces collect into the phantom matrix like a waste product, and cycles into generating more black layers of planetary body miasma. That's like exactly what I saw. So that's why I think it's so important to have these experiences internally and have them confirm externally, at least for me, because yeah, that's really what I wanted to say. Okay, what else? There's more that comes through. Let me see if I want to read more. Yeah, I'm going to read the last paragraph. Once online dimensions of Kundalini frequency are activated in the human light body, and when I say dimensions, I think I've said this before, I mean, there's so many meanings and perspectives, but really that's what it is for me, like more another angle or perspective. Once all 9 dimensions of Kundalini frequency are activated in the human light body and unified in the heart, activation into the liquid plasmic light commences, activating the Christos avatar consciousness into the higher rainbow fields known as Kunda-Ray. And again, like I said, I've been tuning into, if you will, the Kunda-Ray, the higher rainbow fields, the heliotalic spectrum, the aqualine sun codes. Like there's so many ways we can express this. And I also, a few weeks back, recorded that I had another layer of a Kundalini experience, like another harmonic overtone that was, activated within my field. And the first conscious one I had, I think, was in 2019. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's, a collective or a wave of us going through this. And so I wanted to talk about it. So there may be some, if you heard me say that, just take that as like a double confirmation. And it's cool because the more I do this, the more I'm seeing, I made a video recently and I was talking about the high heart and the unification. And so it's just all sort of, for me anyway, starting to come together more of when I first showed up to do this, I was like I said, I couldn't have planned all of this. I'm just following my intuitive nudges. And so yeah, I think those of us who feel connected to this, it's just nice to see how it can unfold. And, you know, this is not even, I want to say this is just the beginning. Okay. Where did I leave off? In this next phase, running the rainbow roundtables and installing kingship arcs and Holy Father cosmic rod and staff pillars are designed to support the awakening of the Albion, Albion, which catalyzes the global awakening and disclosure timeline. And then there's more. The next paragraph is titled Albion Awakening and the Inner Christ Initiation. I think maybe I'll save that actually for the Patreon overflow, because this is getting a little bit longer than I planned. Yeah, it's already 55 minutes. But I wanted to just say that the one second. The kingship arcs really stood out to me, and it's funny, the word king was coming through yesterday for someone, so you'll know who you are. I was talking about the connection to the Grail lines and the bloodlines and the Violet bloodlines, etc., etc. And yeah, so if you hear this, it's funny that was coming up yesterday. I did not know it was going to come up today. Now, in addition to that, the Templars, my friend / client as well over the years, he felt very connected to the Templars, the Knights Templar, and he has a really hard time sleeping. It's like he cannot sleep through the night. And when we made the association that I don't remember, he might have already known that, but I was during one of our transmissions, I was bringing through, he might have already known this, I can't remember honestly because it was a while ago, but we went deeper with the idea that his sleeping, he wasn't really able to sleep through the night because it was like that part of his Akashic records or soul memory or cellular memory in his body was still connected to that schedule of the Knights Templar. And it mentioned somewhere in here, I read earlier, that they would protect the earth and go to planetary stargates and power centers, if you're light temples, communicate, etc., and have to, you know, have that like on guard protection archetype. So yeah, if you're someone who feels connected to that, you know, there may be something there for you to dive into your subconscious with, to do some clearing or just adding awareness and like letting your body know that it's safe, that it can sleep now. You know, that's very specific for whoever feels connected to that. But and it's interesting, I just realized like the last few weeks I have not been able to sleep through the night. I've been waking up a lot, and I do feel like, and I've been seeing a lot of 333, so you may be seeing that too. So, you know, if you're, and I'm getting tingles on my above my eyebrows, like on the peripheries of the mind's eye. And what's interesting, I did do a video a few months back about periphery third eye expansion. And so there might be something here about, like, you know, when someone's on guard or on watch in some way, and they're always like, you know, looking around, and it's like using those peripheries to survey the scene. Yeah, so there just could be like a collective clearing right now going on for, it doesn't have to be just through the Knights Templar, but anyone who holds that archetype of like protector. And maybe you're waking up a lot because you're just, again, your cellular memory is still on that like on guard watch. So yeah, maybe I'll do, if this is like hitting home for anyone, let me know, and I can do like just like a collective guided clearing and astral journey for like resetting the cellular and Akash clearing memory to try to like, again, it's like the nervous system like letting it know it's safe and it can sleep through the night. All right, I think I'm going to end it here, but I will go deeper in Patreon if that's something you're interested in. Thank you so much for listening, and please feel free to share anything that came up for you or in your own research. Let me just tune in and see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah. I also wanted to talk more about whistleblowing. I did a transmission whistleblowing into leadership, and there was this layer of that didn't come through in that transmission, but whistleblowers felt connected to that. So yeah, that might be, if that's something anyone's interested in, let me know and I can go deeper with that as well. Okay, thanks.